Good evening. Well, I'm sure you don't need me to remind you that the 1982 World Cup opens in Spain this weekend. It lasts a month and it'll be seen in every corner of the globe. Along with the Olympics, the biggest sporting show on earth, now in the holiday playground of Europe. Well, tonight our plan is to provide you with a guide for the next month, marking your card on the teams and the men to watch out for, and above all, bringing you bang up to date with the events surrounding the three home countries in these finals. England, for example, as they get down to work on the training pitch outside of Bilbao. And Scotland arriving in Malaga. They are based in the south for the first round. And Northern Ireland preparing in a different way, strolling on the front in Brighton. And we shall have a glimpse of the unlikely qualifiers like Kuwait, who seem to have brought their own tea with them to Spain. They, of course, are in England's group. Well, over the next month, we shall also enjoy the skills of the world's greatest footballers, like Michel Platini of France. Like Zico of Brazil. Like Diego Maradona of Argentina. And like Karl-Heinz Rummenigge of West Germany. And as we move on, we have to tell you also that we shall have a few outstanding characters in our television team as well. Men who can speak with authority and are not afraid to air their views, like Brian Clough, who's with us here tonight, and indeed will be, I'm glad to say, for all the England games as well. Ian St John, with a natural leaning towards the Scots, but who's got a wide overall brief. And joining them will be Ron Atkinson, the manager of Manchester United, and the man just across the way from him up there, of course, John Bond, the manager of Manchester City. The former England international Mike Shannon will get his chance in the coming month, as indeed will the former World Cup winner Jackie Charlton. All of them backed up by Jimmy Greaves, for one, also, of course, a member of England's 1966 World Cup squad, and the former Scottish international Denis Law, who will be based primarily with Jock Stein's team. Now, before anybody starts squealing out too loud about not being able to get away from World Cup football on television, just to remind you that the BBC and ourselves have agreed not to show football at the same time, at least until the final stages. All right, how does it all work? Well, for the first time in a World Cup, there are 24 finalists. In the past, it's been 16. These 24 qualifiers have been drawn into 6 groups of 4. The seeds at the top of each group, and England is one of them, have the advantage of playing all their first-round games in the same stadium. They all play each other once, remember, and the top 2 go into the second round. Well, here we go. Group 1, Italy, Peru, Poland and Cameroon. Group 2 is West Germany, Austria, Chile and Algeria. Group 3, Argentina, Belgium, Hungary and El Salvador. Group 4, England, Czechoslovakia, France and Kuwait. Group 5 is Spain, Northern Ireland, Yugoslavia and Honduras. And Group 6, Brazil, Scotland, Soviet Union and New Zealand. And tonight, the bookmakers have made Brazil the favourites at 15-8, followed by West Germany at 7-2, then Spain, the hosts, at 6-1. Argentina, surprisingly, a long way out there at 10-1, and England very close to them at 11-1, with Russia at 12-1, 20-1 bar, and going a little wider still, Scotland at 33-1, Northern Ireland are at 200-1. If you fancy a real outside bet, what about that? Algeria and Cameroon each at 2,000-1. Well, all those qualifying matches are spread around Spain in 14 different stadia, from places like Bilbao and Barcelona in the north to Malaga and Valencia further south, with the final on Sunday, July the 11th. It's in Madrid, at the home of Real Madrid, the Bernabeu Stadium, one of the greatest club grounds in the world, really in the most beautiful of condition. England's campaign opens in Bilbao. Their first match is against France on Wednesday afternoon. A report now from Jeremy Thompson of ITN.
As England set out for their first full day, the rain in Spain was falling mainly in Bilbao. Though the weather and the constant ring of security men were not the only problems, as Trevor Francis suddenly discovered. Pretty rough treatment from the team coach. But unexpected bruises apart, the squad were in good spirits as they drove the 10 miles to Clough for the first full training session. They'll be having 2 workouts a day, this one in public and another in private at 5:15, the kick-off time of all their matches. Ron Greenwood's biggest worry is over Trevor Brooking, his old West Ham protégé. A groin strain from the Scotland match became a major problem on Monday, and today he survived only half an hour's training.
Yeah, that'll be fine. It's okay running straight. It's just sort of when I turn to the right-hand side, or strange enough, although it's the right side, it's kicking with my left leg. It's whenever the weight's on the right-hand side.
Well, he must really be in doubt now, presumably, because it's only 6 days away.
Yes, I think as I'm just keeping straightforward running. I mean, the thing that's going to aggravate it or find it out is the twisting or turning, which is a big part of the game. But I think I'm going to leave that until Sunday or Monday, because really, if it's not right by Monday, then obviously I'm not going to make Wednesday, and perhaps I'll need another injection then on Monday for later in the week. But I think I shall just keep straightforward running until the Sunday or Monday, and then have to step it up to find out one way or the other.
So Monday's D-Day, really, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
Paul Mariner knows all about injuries. He missed half the season after an operation on an Achilles tendon. But now he's back and seems to be scoring every time he puts on an England shirt.
Dermot waiting while Alvin Martin gets forward. And the goalkeeper committed. And here's Brooking, a chance. And Mariner and a goal for England. Here's Ricks, who can hit them from here. And Mariner, 2-0.
Even making a run towards the near post. Robson's right in there too. And Butcher against the post. And Mariner with a goal.
And Mariner. Whipped in by Ricks, and now Brooking. Still Trevor Brooking. Paul Mariner.
Mariner's now scored in his last 4 appearances for England, equalling the feat of Bobby Charlton in 1963. And he's ready for action.
To put it into perspective, I only played about 25 games last season, which is, in England, half a season. It's about 3/4 of a season on the continent, but half a season in England. And I'm ready to go. I'm sort of halfway through, so I hope we can get a few more matches over here to prove that I am back to my best.
Haven't seen many of the English fans yet, but when they come, and obviously there's going to be this doubt of worry in everybody's minds about how they behave, how much does that affect the team?
Well, it does affect the team when things get out of hand, but hopefully they're going to come over here and just be good ambassadors for British football. I remember playing in the Switzerland game in Basel, and that was unnerving from a player's point of view. More so afterwards, when you actually saw the pictures in the press, it sort of really brought it home to you how frightening that could be.
So unless they behave, I mean, it could affect the way you play here.
Well, it could to a certain degree, but once you're out in the field, you try and, obviously you hear the buzz of the crowd, but if they do get out of hand, it most definitely does have an effect on us, yes.
As the local headline suggests, the 10,000 English fans certainly won't find any city of hate when they arrive over the next few days. Welcome England, they say. Our city is your city. Bilbao might not be the prettiest of Spanish cities, but they've done their best to tidy it up. This towering monument near the San Mamés Stadium was black with dirt a week ago. Now it's been cleaned quickly and efficiently. As for the stadium itself, fears that it wouldn't be ready in time are gradually disappearing. A 2-month builder's strike didn't help the massive improvement project. But the remodelling of San Mamés, the oldest stadium in this World Cup, is now almost finished. And the authorities promise it will be all right on the night. Jackie Charlton, who'll be watching England for ITV, was certainly impressed.
If I was an England player, I would want to get out there and play, because it is a bit special. I played here a long time ago, and I didn't remember it like this, but it's obviously been tarted up and painted since then. But it's exactly what a football stadium should be. Nothing round the outside where people run on. It's purely and simply for football, with a crowd, and they can all get a tremendous view. I mean, I can't see a pillar where anybody would have an obstructed view in this place. It's going to be magnificent to watch and magnificent for a play on.
Well done, Jack. Well, around the England camp, there have been reports tonight that Bayern Munich were negotiating to sign England's Graham Rix from Arsenal. Well, tonight we spoke to a Bayern director who said that they were interested in Rix recently, decided he was too expensive, and now say they've bought somebody else. Well, England's first opponents, France, were in action tonight. They met the Spanish First Division side, Real Sociedad, in San Sebastian, and Martin Tyler was there for us.
Now Platini, Rocheteau. Can he stretch his legs? Dominique Rocheteau will get a second chance and will score. Certainly a moment that will improve the confidence of Rocheteau, who hasn't produced goals at international level in recent games and enjoys playing through the middle. Now, penalty. Lopez bringing down Iriarte. And now Castaneda faces Cortabarria, who is captaining Real Sociedad tonight and who makes it 1-1. Gires, Rocheteau. Gires again. Has Rocheteau to his right. Platini in closer support. Magnificent goal that spells out a warning for England from Michel Platini. Here's Six. Gires inside him. And so too here is Lacombe. Well, Bernard Lacombe has done very little since coming on, but he produces another shot of telling effect from outside the area to give France a 3-1 lead.
Well, Jack, 3-1 to France. You're here as England's official observer. What are you going to be saying to Ron Greenwood?
Well, they're a very fluid side. They move, they fill in for each other very, very quickly. People will run forward and back up the forward players, and the back four will come out and pick up loose players in midfield. And they change and swap around very, very well. They don't play many long balls. Most balls are played into feet and out again, and very short. But the two players to watch for, without question, are Platini and Rocheteau, because they are two very good players.
But you think England have the players to exploit certain weaknesses in the French?
Yeah, well, the two fullbacks tend to man-to-man mark and push out very wide, and they give a lot of room down towards the corner flag areas. And someone like Brooking exploiting them areas might be just exactly what we require, because the two centre-backs I didn't trust too much at all. They didn't look too quick. They didn't look very happy on crosses, and but how they will play when England play two up front, whether they play an extra one in there as a sweeper, we'll have to wait and see, because the Spaniards today only played one up front, which left them a bit square, not very positive, and I wasn't too impressed with the French when they were being attacked. But coming forward, they're a good team and we need to watch them.
So, all in all, what you've seen here today, you think England have a very good chance of beating France?
Well, if England get about the job like they got about it against Scotland in the first half and show the same sort of determination, then they're going to put the French under a lot of pressure. And the French tend, I think, to need a little bit of time to play, and they need time on the ball. Don't give them the time on the ball, I think England will take them.
Jack, the spy tonight for Ron Greenwood. So the French then are England's first opponents. And then on Sunday week, Ron Greenwood's men meet Czechoslovakia. Again, it's an afternoon kick-off, and you better make a date with that one, live with ITV on Sunday week. Now, the Czechs, this team is not rated as highly as the one that won the European Championship for them in 1976. They're still rebuilding to a certain extent, but three of that 1976 team remain to form something of a nucleus, and one of them is Marian Masny. Plays a lot in midfield, comes forward and has a marvellous eye for goal as well. He is a genuine class player, is Masny, taking the ball there and then coming in so quickly to provide a goal for Czechoslovakia. Well, Masny is one, Nahoda is another. A good, strong, forward-running opportunist. And a great picker-up of trifles as well. There, as it comes off the goalkeeper, it's Nahoda who's in there to finish it off. And then there's Panenka, who is absolutely deadly from the penalty spot and from free kicks as well. Three there that England clearly will have to watch. And then in the final game in England's qualifying group, 2 weeks today, on Friday, June the 25th, again it's an afternoon kick-off, and again we have it live on ITV, and a match really that takes England into the unknown, Kuwait. Well, they'll either be an easy task, or they'll provide England with the most embarrassing World Cup banana skin since we lost to the United States in 1950. Kuwait qualified last December, and this goal against New Zealand gave them a draw and the point they badly needed. And indeed, the celebration that followed was unlike most football celebrations we see from anywhere else in the world. But now the Kuwaitis are in Spain, and Jim Rosenthal tracked them down.
This is the Kuwait Hotel. We're some 3.5 hours drive from Bilbao at Tordesillas, effectively smack in the middle of Spain. It really is a very different proposition to England's family-style headquarters. Kuwait might be in the World Cup finals for the first time, but they're very confident and believe in doing things in style. The players have been together for 2 years now. They haven't been allowed to play for their clubs. That's caused a row in Kuwait, but the policy's certainly paid off. In 1980, they reached the quarter-finals at the Olympics. They were Asian champions last year. And now, a country with only 1,700 registered players is in the World Cup finals. At 37, Sheikh Fahid must be one of the youngest national football presidents. He's retiring at the end of the competition. He reflects the optimism of the camp and has some very critical words about England's preparation.
Well, this is their problem. This is their organisation. I mean, there's no excuse for them. We invite Greenwood to come to watch Kuwait because we don't want an excuse after this World Cup. We don't want people just putting imagination. We don't work through imagination like what your journalist and some newspaper says in England. We work through facts. So we don't want to sit and make our preparation or plan through what we think about England. We know everything before because we have two programs every week in Kuwait television about the league and the cup and the football in England, and the same from France. All around the world, we know everything about them. We have sent people there, bringing reports, everything about each single players. But we knew they will not take care.
The players all seem very relaxed up in their rooms. They're brewing up their own sweet Kuwaiti tea. No danger of anything stronger here. Some delicate twiddling on a powerful radio keeps them in tune with the sounds of home several thousand miles away. This is where the Kuwaitis play Czechoslovakia and France, the brand new Jose Zorrilla Stadium at Valladolid. It's the only new ground in the World Cup, and it really puts British venues to shame. There's a distinct Brazilian influence in the camp. Coach Carlos Alberto isn't the famous fullback, but he was with the Brazilians when they won the trophy in Mexico 12 years ago. His approach is rather more restrained than his president.
You know, what I really feel is that until now, in the whole history of the World Cups competition, there was only two big upsets. When England was beaten by Americans in '50, and then when Korea disqualified Italy in 1966. So I believe Kuwait can do something concerning to this point in this World Cup now. We had been preparing ourselves very good. The team has been achieving good improvements in the last 3 years, and the team is ready for the competition and quite confident.
So a reminder then of England's first round games next Wednesday against France. They all kick off at 4:15 in the afternoon, incidentally our time, all of them in Bilbao. Sunday week against Czechoslovakia, and then 2 weeks today against Kuwait. Let's just take a couple of minutes out now with Brian Clough about England's chances. There seems to be growing confidence in the country, Brian, about England's chances in the World Cup. Is that a confidence you share?
It is, and because there's growing confidence is because of the group we're in. We're in a good group. It's not the hardest of groups, and I think we can beat the Frenchmen, and I think we can beat anybody else in our group and go on to the next round.
Yes, I mean, allowing for the group that we're in, but also the form that we're in, with 6 successive wins. That's come at exactly the right time, hasn't it?
It's good timing, and we're getting to a point where everybody's full of themselves, but you don't want to be too much full of yourself until you actually get out there and win a couple of matches. Past form before you go out is a good thing regarding confidence-wise, but Greenwood's still got to pick his best side.
Which would be what, in your mind?
Well, I don't know the best side, you know, at the moment, because I'm not there out there.
The key players that you would think.
He's got to pick people to win a match. He'll pick Trevor Francis to win a match, despite what people say about him not playing well for England. Because we have to win a couple of matches to get through. Then we can consolidate, and then we can possibly get to the semis or the final.
And with the key areas, obviously, he's got to worry about the centre of the back.
Well, he's got to have sorted out in his own mind by now. Hell's fired. If you haven't sorted out after 4 years, I don't think you're entitled to be on a team coach. And he's got plenty of experience with him, managerial-wise. He's got Don Howe, who appears to be having a profound effect on the England side at the moment with his coaching techniques.
In a word, how far can we go?
I think we can go all the way. There's no reason why not.
And win it?
Why not? The alternative of that is to lose.
Brilliant. Well, next it's Scotland then, and it's the third successive time that the Scots have qualified for the finals. First in Germany in 1974, then in Argentina in 1978, when really it turned into a disaster and a desperate time for Scotland manager Ali MacLeod, when so many things went wrong. Well, can Jock Stein do better this time? That's after the break. Welcome back. Well, Jock Stein, one of football's shrewdest men, guided Scotland into these finals. And now they find themselves in the same group as Brazil, the favourites, Russia, the dark horses for so many people, and the outsiders, New Zealand. Remember, 2 from each group go through to the next series of games, so clearly it's going to be tough for Scotland. Well, Scotland are based in the south, and they play their matches in Malaga and Seville. And their matches are all night games, kicking off at 8 o'clock our time. And Scotland, in fact, completed their preparations in Portugal with a match last night against the club side Terralta. And they certainly found some impressive scoring form. John Helm is the commentator.
Hartford's through ball for Jordan. This could be dangerous. Jordan couldn't quite turn on it, but does get the cross in. And surely now Alan Brazil must surely get the first goal. He's tricking them, and he went this way, he went that way. And Alan Brazil gives Scotland the lead. Gray, better build up now as Sturrock comes into the action and moves inside very sweetly and will surely try one. Good effort in Brazil, in for number 3, Alan Brazil. Robertson's corner, getting to the near post. Out to George Burley. Thought he might have had a crack. Oh, and that must be a penalty kick. So it's Robertson against Guimarães, who once kept goal for Benfica. And it's... oh, well, it's 4-0 via one post and then the other. Again, Sturrock's speed carrying into a good position. Jordan controls it. Little clip over for Dalglish. Hartford now must make it. Well, still time for a 6th goal as Miller pushes the ball forward for Sturrock. They will appear to be impeded, but anyway, work the ball out for Burley, who gets in the cross, and it must fall for Hartford or Robertson. Robertson still weaving and tricking, and that's a beautiful goal from John Robertson. Frank Gray. Nice cross, keeper's off the line. Oh, what a good headed goal that one was by Joe Jordan. Well, Jock, that's it in terms of match preparation. How pleased are you now going into the World Cup?
We're quite pleased. We've had a good week here. We've got settled down. Most of the players have got over the hard season they've had. We've had a couple of good nights training, and we've had 2 good games which have helped them very much indeed.
Was that a worry, the fact that these players have gone through a very strenuous year, haven't they? That 1 or 2 of them might have been a bit jaded?
Well, that was the important thing. They've all had a hard season, most of them, because they've been with clubs that have been playing right up to the last minute and cup finals and one thing and another. So they've been playing for the prizes with the club at the end of the season. They've had no rest at all, and they've needed a bit of rest here. That's been ideal. We've had good headquarters here, and we've had good training facilities, and the local team have been very good. They've laid on 2 games for us, and everyone's had a match. So we move on to Spain now, quite well prepared for our first game.
Well, indeed, the Scottish team flew from the Algarve to southern Spain early today, and there to meet them when they arrived was our reporter, Alan Taylor.
And it's here, Brian, at this magnificent leisure headquarters here at Sotogrande that Scotland will stay. In the last World Cup final, some of the Scotland players described their training headquarters at Alta Gracia as nothing more than a prison camp. Lou Macari in particular was very outspoken. He was banned by the SFA and has never played for Scotland since. While here, in spite of the intense security we're all having to suffer, the reaction is a little bit different. Sotogrande was created in 1962, 4,000 acres of beach, forest and rolling plains. The publicists call it Spain's sporting paradise. The numerous facilities include 2 superb golf courses and a beautifully manicured polo field where Scotland will train. That itself is 4 times larger than a football pitch. Ideal conditions generally for the players, as Dennis Clough, who was in Argentina, confirms.
I was in Argentina and the training camp at Alta Gracia looked marvellous from the outside, but inside it was awful. The bedrooms were terrible, the training facilities were absolutely a shambles. Now they've come here to the most glamorous and glorious place, and the training the jockeys had before. This is the perfect setting for the first game against New Zealand.
So really they've got everything they need, they want. They should now be able to get on with the business.
I don't think there'll be any problem at all. I think everything has been done right by Jock's team. The facilities are great, the players know what they've got to do, and as you say, they cannot ask for anything else. Everything here is perfect.
Well, each group has one team that's the rank outsider, and in Scotland's group, it's New Zealand. The New Zealanders have travelled far and wide through the qualifying rounds. This is their first World Cup, and obviously they're determined to enjoy it at their plush headquarters in Spain. At the same time, it's a curious World Cup for a couple of their players, because they're both Scots, and here they are in the same group now as Scotland. Well, how do they feel about that?
It's mixed emotions, really. It's something that if I had to write my script in life, I would want, especially playing against Scotland, especially playing for New Zealand. It's one of these things I can't lose. I was Scotsman in New Zealand. My heart will be with New Zealand, obviously, but I hope to hell that if we do beat Scotland, it doesn't knock them out of the World Cup. If Scotland play as they can play, then honestly, we don't deserve to be on the pitch with them. I'll say it, not we don't deserve, but I don't think we can beat them. But if Scotland play as also they can play at times, as they did Zaire, Iran, then we can do them. We're a better team than Iran and we're a better team than Zaire.
Well, what are you looking forward to most of all, and what will you take away with you? And,
I think I'll take away the feeling of having competed against 3 of the greatest teams in the world. New Zealand being so isolated would never be able to get teams of that calibre over there to actually play internationals against us. And being on the field with Scotland, Russia and Brazil, they've got brilliant international records. I just couldn't imagine it. And to me, if I get onto the field in those 3 games, it'll be the highlight.
Winton Rufer signing autographs. He had a spell with Norwich. Indeed, the overall feeling is of one calm relaxation about this New Zealand camp. In fact, the only thing that gets them a bit ruffled is when people suggest that they're not good enough to be in these finals.
I resent it very much. In fact, I get bloody angry when people say you've got no right to be here. FIFA opened the door to 24 teams for this World Cup, and that gave us the right to compete, to try and get here. And the road that we've taken over a 10-month period of qualifying games, 15 matches to qualify, as I say, 78,000 miles to travel to do it, I will say that there is not one team over and above New Zealand that has earned the right more to compete in this World Cup. We have earned it, and we've earned it the hard way. And we've got every damn right to be here.
Even so, the favourites to go through from this group, the overall favourites in fact, are the magical Brazilians. Enough of the talk, enough of the speculation just for a moment. Let's just enjoy the skills that have made Brazil the outright favourites. if that doesn't whet your appetite for the World Cup, I suppose nothing will. Brazil then look good to go through, which means that if you discount New Zealand, Scotland will have to battle hardest against the Russians, who they meet in their last match. The Russians probably have their best team in years, with a strong nucleus of Dynamo Tbilisi players and a squad that's been encouraged to express itself in more adventurous terms than its predecessors. Ian St John, in fact, has been looking at the Russians. What do you feel about them, Ian?
Well, I think I would agree with you, Brian. They're a better team than they've ever been before. They've got terrific individual players as well as having that all-round strength that the Russians are known for. And one of their top players is Raman Shengelia, who plays with the Dynamo Tbilisi. Now, he's the leading scorer in the Soviet Union this season. And although he's not the tallest of players, he's quite lethal with his head, as he shows there. And Russia use him at free kicks to find space at the near post. And I think that's something that Scotland will have to look out for in the match. Well, he plays mainly down the right-hand side of the field. This is him picking the ball up now. And he gets a lot of service in for blocking, and that's blocking sliding the ball into the net there. Now, I think we all know about Oleg Blokhin. He's probably the best known of the Russian players, and he's still one of the fastest forwards in the world. But he's now 30 years of age, and he still possesses a threat to most defenders. This is him picking the ball up on his favourite left foot and thumping the ball past the goalkeeper there. But he's not bad with his head either, and you can see when he gets up here with his free kick and powers in the header. So I think Blokhin and Shengelia are two players that certainly Scotland will have to look out for.
Well, to my astonishment, I've heard Brian say tonight that he thinks England might go all the way.
Yeah.
Do you feel as encouraged by what you see of Scotland?
Well, I'm not as optimistic about Scotland's chances as Brian is about England's, because we are not going there with 6 wins behind us and all the euphoria that we had before the 78 final. Now, that in itself might be a good thing, because Scotland, I think, are always better as the underdogs. I think we always play better when we've got something to fight for. We've got a terrific fighting spirit. So maybe that Jock Stein has got us in this position now where we've got to go out there and prove to everybody that we can get it right on the night. I'm just a little bit worried that we've experimented a little bit too late towards the final with sweepers and players that we're not quite sure about, you know. But I think in the end, Jock obviously knows what he's after. I hope he's going to be right. And I hope that Scotland can certainly get through in this section and get into the second phase.
Yes. Ian, thanks a lot. Well, the Scottish games then, if they are to get through to that second section, in the first round, next Tuesday, they play New Zealand in Malaga. They're all 8 o'clock kickoffs, by the way. Next Friday, against Brazil in Seville, and then on Tuesday week, against the Russians, again in Malaga. Which brings us now to Northern Ireland, and indeed it was a great effort by them to qualify. But they're going to be the last team to arrive in Spain. In fact, they're not even there yet. We go, believe it or not, to the Metropole Hotel in Brighton to join the Irish lads, and that's coming up after the break. Welcome back. Well, the Northern Ireland players have been enjoying Spanish weather on England's south coast at Brighton these past few days before they set off for Spain and Group 5 to face the host nation Spain, also Yugoslavia, and the outsiders Honduras. They play their matches against Yugoslavia and Honduras in Zaragoza and then finish in Valencia against Spain on June the 25th. Now, Jackie Fullerton has been with his fellow Irishman down in Sussex.
Well, breezy Brighton is a far cry from Valencia, Brian. For example, I haven't heard a castanet. They're not doing the Paso Doble down here, and Julio Iglesias isn't topping the bill at the Theatre Royal. But Spanish-type weather? Well, the Northern Ireland players have certainly had that as they complete the build-up to the finals here on the South Coast. Manager Billy Bingham's choice of Brighton as a World Cup hideaway may have surprised a few. But with temperatures soaring into the 80s, Bingham's men are fit, bronzed, and more importantly, almost acclimatized for what lies ahead in Spain. Their mood appears to be right. Indeed, it's hard to imagine the finals and all its pressures are now only a few days away.
Qualifying for the World Cup, you know, and all the tensions that went with that, all the matches were very tight, and every game we played was very dramatic, and eventually we qualified. I think there's always an anticlimax after you've qualified for a World Cup, and we felt it. And during that period where we lost 2 or 3 games, I also experimented here and there with players, trying to find out if there was other options I could turn to if we had injury to key players. I think that was an important factor, but also we played very well in Belfast against Scotland, one of the games anyway, which picked us up a little bit more. We experimented against Wales and lost the game, but I don't think you should read too much into that.
Some people, though, have written you off as no-hopers, and some say you could be an embarrassment in Spain. Does that make you angry?
Not really. It was said before in 1958, and we got to the quarterfinals. It doesn't make me angry. I think a lot of people would say that simply because we are a small country. We haven't got many players to choose from. We haven't perhaps as many quality players as other countries. But we have a great esprit de corps with the Northern Ireland team. And when it comes to the crunch games, you can guarantee that we'll give it everything we've got, and the Yugoslavs will know they're in the game.
Away from it all, the serious business of getting fit for the finals has taken place here at Sussex University playing fields. In the blistering heat, it's been hard work. However, the players feel Bingham has got it right, and they'll be in peak condition. The only injury doubt surrounds centre-half Chris Nicholl, who strained ligaments in his left foot. But the big Southampton man is well on the mend and should be fit for the opening game against Yugoslavia. Looking forward to the finals more than most is Manchester United's emerging star Norman Whiteside. And when you've got skill, come from Belfast and play at Old Trafford, the comparisons to George Best are obvious.
Well, Jack, I don't really like to be compared with George Best because we're 2 different types of players, you know, and he's a genius with the man himself, you know. I wouldn't like to be compared with George Best.
Well, here you are at 17, off to the World Cup finals.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, you know, to get going to the World Cup, especially if your country, you know, Northern Ireland. It's great to play for them.
How have the lads accepted the baby of the squad?
Oh, they're great, the lads, you know, just helped me along in training and all, you know, really good.
Well, Billy Bingham's been impressed with you in practice, and there's a fair chance he could pitch you in for a World Cup debut. What would that mean to you?
Well, to play for your country would be something special, you know, and especially in the World Cup, would just be tremendous.
So, what are Northern Ireland up against? As host nation Spain are big favourites to win Group 5, while Yugoslavia, they're being widely tipped to finish second, and with good reason. They were Europe's top side in 1981, and they have a few men Northern Ireland should look out for. A major threat could be striker Zlatko Vujovic. The 25-year-old is quick and has a big reputation as a lethal finisher. At international level, he's certainly lived up to that reputation with 12 goals in 16 appearances. Another man who scores goals is goalkeeper Dragan Pantelic. He takes the penalty kicks and obviously does it well, having scored 2 for Yugoslavia in the World Cup qualifying games. The other team in the group is Honduras from Central America, who are playing in the finals for the first time. For almost a year, they've been preparing in this training camp. They're a side who rely very much on physical fitness and team spirit, as they readily admit they're not world-class when it comes to skill. Their manager, Shalato, learned the game in Argentina, and since he took over in 1979, Honduras have ended Mexico's dominance in the Caribbean. At 23, Ramon Maradiego will probably be the youngest skipper in Spain. Nicknamed El Primitivo, he's an aggressive midfielder. Up front, the man to look out for is Roberto Figueroa. He's a winger who can really hit them, as he proved when scoring 1 of the 4 goals against Haiti. Another example of Figueroa's shooting power came against Canada. And what about this for a goal from just outside the box? Figueroa could be a real threat in Spain, a player with good control who certainly knows how to finish. So Northern Ireland's World Cup adventure is about to start then. A final thought. On the 17th of June 1958, at the finals in Sweden, Northern Ireland beat Czechoslovakia 1-0, a result which saw them qualify for the quarter-finals. A tremendous performance at that time. 24 years on, Spain 1982, the 17th of June again, Northern Ireland meet Yugoslavia in the opening game this time. An Irish omen of success, perhaps, Brian. We hope so.
Yes, and so do we. Well, we've touched on two of Northern Ireland's opponents, Yugoslavia and Honduras, in that report. But Spain, of course, are the favourites in Group 5, and that's not surprising, really. The host nation, by tradition, does well in the World Cup. And now Spain will be supported and comforted, at least all the time they're doing well, by one of the most fanatical crowds in world football. If anything, they'll be the team under most pressure in this competition. Elton Wellesby now reports.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's called Jadro, or as we call it, Ladro, and its home is right here in Valencia. Ladro was founded in 1951, and in that relatively short space of time, just over 30 years, it's built up a worldwide reputation as being one of Europe's most beautifully designed and manufactured porcelains. Just about all of it is handmade and painted by over 2,000 girls here in this factory, and it really is most impressive. But in 5 days' time, the pride of Valencia will be found just a few kilometres away. The all-seater Louis Casanova Stadium, where Spain played their first match in Group 5 against the outsiders Honduras. Spain hoping to become the third successive host nation to win the World Cup. It's an intimidating ground with the stands towering above the pitch, and they say the 47,000 fanatical Spanish supporters will provide a more passionate atmosphere here than 100,000 of them could in Barcelona or Madrid. And there's been a real scramble for tickets. The locals weren't too pleased about the original allocation. They were told approximately 6,000 seats would be available. But following the total reorganisation at the Mundi España, the number has been increased to 14,000. Hence these crowds that went right round the stadium on Wednesday. Fans had slept overnight in order to be first in the queue. The Spaniards' retreat is near the coast with an adjoining golf course, and as you can probably imagine, under heavy armed guard 24 hours a day. And the police patrolling the grounds here really are a menacing sight. You've no chance of getting anywhere near the place unless you have official identification, and even then, only at specific times of the day. And of course, amongst the top Spanish players, there's always the fear of getting kidnapped. And who can blame them? Okay. This is Kini, the Spanish league's top scorer, and that's exactly what happened to him in October. He was eventually released after 4 weeks. And favourites like Arconada, Alasanco and Kini in that picture can be seen all over Valencia on those giant advertising hoardings promoting anything from clothes to soft drinks. Everyone's trying to get in on the act, somehow of exploiting the World Cup financially. And here in Valencia it seems even more important because the Spanish are here and relishing the prospect of playing Honduras, Yugoslavia and of course Northern Ireland.
Well, Northern Ireland start their programme with a match against Yugoslavia in Zaragoza on Thursday, then Honduras also in Zaragoza, and finally that tough match against Spain in Valencia, that's on June the 25th. Well, let's turn to Brian and Ian. In a word, do Northern Ireland have a chance?
I'll keep my fingers crossed for them.
Does that suggest you don't think they have a great chance and need that little bit of luck to push them on their way?
I'll keep my toes crossed as well.
Ian?
Well, actually, they did well in the group. I mean, they gave Scotland a hard time in the group, so if we think Scotland might do well, Ireland might do well, but I think they'll beat Honduras.
Well, that won't be enough to qualify them, so it looks as though you think that Spain and Yugoslavia might be the two that go through from that group. Well, we've looked in any case now in detail at the three home countries, England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and the teams they'll meet in the opening round. We've seen the Brazilians in action, but who are the teams that we haven't mentioned who are likely to push them hardest? Of course, you can't overlook the holders Argentina, now strengthened from their side of 4 years ago by the emergence of a player recognised in most places as the finest football in the world at the moment. 21-year-old Diego Maradona, who's just agreed to sign for Barcelona for something around £4 million after the World Cup. But I wonder, will Maradona have the chance in the next month to display his amazing skills in the biggest stage of all, the World Cup?
Don't you ever stop. Whatever it is, take it to the top. Keep moving up. Don't you ever stop. Whatever it is, take it to the top. The world's out there waiting, and it's yours for the taking. So come on, get up. It's time to go. Stop hesitating and vacillating to the top. That's your mark. Get ready, set, go. So let's go. Take it to the top. Don't stop, 'cause we'll be moving, yeah. You can make it to the top. Don't stop. We'll be grooving.
Out on here. Go! Go!
That's what they call you. How long you waiting to get where you are? Star, that's what you wanted. This week I shot the video star. Star, that's what they call you. How long you waiting to get where you are? Star, that's what you wanted. This week I shot a video star.
The extraordinary Maradona. There's a story tonight, though, that a leg injury might keep him out of the opening game against Belgium on Sunday. What about the West Germans? A lot of people fancy them, though I've got a feeling that injuries have brought them to Spain a little below their best. There's Austria, who are always very competitive. There's Belgium, European finalists in 1980. We've got Poland, we've got Hungary and so on. Brian, when we come to West Germany, for example, we saw a fair number of their side, didn't we, in playing for Bayern Munich against Aston Villa. Do you rate their chances as second favourites, I see, tonight?
I think they should be as well. Technically, they're a very, very good nation, football-wise. And their record over the last 3-4 World Cups is incredible. And it's good at club level also. They're entitled to be second favourites.
Ian?
Well, yeah, but I think, you know, everybody's saying that the final four, the semi-finalists, are all been taken care of: Brazil, Argentina, Spain and West Germany. But I mean, if that was the case, then there's no point in us looking at the games until then. I think maybe Spain, maybe West Germany could crack in this World Cup, you know, because they've had a couple of defeats in European finals. Hamburg lost and Bayern Munich lost. And it may well be that they've suffered some damage through this. And it could well be that when they get out here to Spain, you know, that the players might not perform as they've been performing. I mean, they've got some great players, great individual players. I mean, Rummenigge is the footballer of the year in Europe at the moment, and Rummenigge is a fantastic player, and, you know, we're all looking forward to seeing him. In the European Cup final, for instance, he made one or two lovely chances for himself. That right foot shot there, great save by the goalkeeper. And of course, the highlight of the European final for everybody that was there, and I was there with the Aston Villa fans, was this overhead kick, and we were all amazed by it. And if that had gone in, that would have been the goal of any season, I think. That was a superb piece of skill. But here's a long ball that he loves to get this type of service, and he raced clear, but you'll notice that the ball just got away from him. Now, he's been off with injury, Brian, and I was talking to Bob Paisley at the Bell's lunch the other week, and he knows Rummenigge quite well, and he thought that he's still suffering from that. He felt that he'd have got that ball a few weeks ago, and he thinks that the injury is probably still playing him up. And it may well be that he's not as fit as he was, you know, say 6 months ago.
It's extraordinary we've gone this far in the programme and nobody's mentioned Italy. I mean, they're a side that people love to hate, I think, most of the time, don't they, to be fair? They're a very defensively minded side. I've done battle with them over the last 10 years. Pardon?
I've done battle with them over the last 10 years in European competitions, and they're a nasty lot to play against.
But they're a side that seems to be getting a bit old together now.
Well, I'm going up to do that group, Brian, as you know, and I saw them playing France a couple of months back. And you're right, they have got old together. They've had great players, and they don't seem to have been able to bring in the younger element into the team, and they're going to live with the players that they've got. And you know, I've always been a great admirer of this skill, but I don't think that they're going to win it this year.
Brian, in a word, who do you tip? I know you've had a little pop at England tonight. In a word.
Brazilians, obviously. The Spaniards, they'll all be in the frame. Outsiders, I think we're outsiders, and I think we'll get there.
Ian?
Well, I think you can't see any further than Brazil. The skill that we've seen tonight, I think, is unbelievable, and I fancy them.
Well, we're all set to go. The opening game is on Sunday when Argentina, the holders, face Belgium. You can see highlights of that one on ITN that evening. But our first live match is on Monday afternoon when Italy meet Poland. A month of great sporting activity is with us. In a month's time, we should be talking, I hope, of British triumphs, of great goals, of emerging stars, of moments of pure skill and high drama as well. And indeed, if previous World Cups are anything at all to go by, there'll be a few laughs as well. It could be, I think, a marvellous mixture, and I hope you'll join us for the whole of this World Cup. And now from us all, good night.